Hi guys, welcome to another video of our budget demon hunter, and in this video we're going to go over upgrading your bows. So if you haven't noticed already, I have a few bows in my inventory. I purchased two bows off the auction house. This one costed me 1.2 mil, including the gem. I guess you could say this bow is 1.7 mil, and I bought this bow for 2 mil, and I consider them to be very good deals and my personal favorite ways of upgrading your bows. So hopefully I can share some tips with you guys when you're searching for bows to kind of save your money and try to get the best out of your bows as possible. So because I actually went out to buy these bows, I am going to be giving these bows out to two random subscribers that post for this video. So in the comment section, if you want any of these bows, not this one of course because that's my main bow. If you want this bow or this bow, just feel free to comment in the comment section, and I'm going to PM you. Two random guys or girls will get a stab at these bows. So of course the first person that I contact or contacts me are going to have a choice between which bow to get. So that's kind of like a first and second prize, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go over the rationale on why I chose these bows and also the search criteria for your auction housing when you're searching for bows. First of all, I chose this strength vit bow. It cost 1.2 mil without the gem. I put in the gem in there just to put it in for the crit hit damage, to test out the damage. And notice one thing, this bow does not have dex. And the reason why I chose a bow without dex is because I can make up dex in other parts of my equipment, and I can probably do it for fairly cheap. So for example, let's look at this boot. If I want 250 dex boots, I can do it. All I have to do is sacrifice just some vit and I can get 250 dex boots. So for that reason, a 100 dex bow would basically like double the cost of the bow. And if you're on like a 1 mil budget or 2 mil budget, then you definitely don't want to be paying 3 or 4 mil, which is basically the equivalent bow with 100 extra dex. So that's definitely something to consider, and that's definitely something that I'm taking advantage of now. So for that reason, I bought a 194 vit bow, and that's actually an insane amount of vit. I got a very good deal for that, so you have to be very patient on the auction house. My search criteria was socket bit, and that's what you need to look for when you're looking for upgrading your bows. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, my current DPS is 41k. My resists are 300 physical, 3.3k armor. So if you add 194 vit and 104 strength, what do you get? Oh, actually, before we do that, we have 29.3k HP. So how much will the vit really benefit us? So let's see how this works out. So putting on this bow, we were at 41k before, and we gained 4.5k DPS. Well, 4.4k, but I just round to the nearest 500. So 4.5k DPS, which is a very reasonable amount for an upgrade that cost us like 1.7 mil. So that's the price of this bow, 1.7 mil. Another thing that we gain from this is massive health. Not only did we gain 4.5k DPS, but we also gained 7k HP. So for those of you that might not think 7k is significant, that's the difference between like a 2-shot and a 3-shot, or like you getting 2-shotted instead of 3-shotted, or like 1-shotted instead of none. So it's a significant upgrade, and that's like 33% of your health, like 2/3 higher. You got 7k HP on 29. Okay, that's a quarter, but either way, you get the point. It's a big percentage. You get tons of HP, and it's a very cheap upgrade. So, well, I don't know if cheap is the right word because people make money at different rates, but for the price of 1.7 mil, I would argue that this is a very, very cheap upgrade. So strength vit is very good, and also because we gain armor. So notice that we had 3370 armor, and now we get 3474. So that's perfectly fine for me. Another thing that you need to consider to take into account is int. If you find something like int and vit, keep in mind that 10 int equals 1 vit. Oh, whoa. 10 int equals 1 resist all, and 1 resist all is pretty much equivalent to 10 strength, which gives you 1 armor. So that means in terms of the 10-to-1 ratio, which typically you try to organize your armor and resists in a 10-to-1 ratio, 1 int is equivalent to 1 strength. So that means strength vit or int vit. And that's going to give you optimal defensive stats as well as very good damage. Well, the damage could be better with Dex, but once again, because we're on a tight budget, Dex definitely overprices bows. So that's something you really need to take into account, because I see so many people telling me that, okay, this bow is so expensive, and then I ask them what their search criteria is. Well, they tell me they search for Dex, crit hit, damage, and socket, and I'm like, of course it's expensive because it has so much Dex in it, and like crit hit, damage, and socket, that stuff's crazy expensive, and it's not necessarily the most cost efficient approach. So that's why I'm kind of pitching this bow. It's my personal preference. I like it a lot. And moving on to the second bow. So let's just switch this back. The second bow is higher DPS but lower vit. So you can imagine there's a trade-off here. There's a 1080 DPS bow versus an 1121 DPS bow. And the trade-off is very simple. 100 vit versus 40 base DPS. In my case, I would personally choose this one just because it gives a lot more DPS. And DPS is kind of beneficial at this point because we have 41k and we would like to reach 50k as cost efficiently as possible. So there's also one other key difference here in this bow, and the difference is that it doesn't have a socket. So when you're searching for bows, do not only look for socketed bows, because notice that this property here has 76% extra crit hit damage. Well, if I were to get a socket and put a gem in this, how much would the gem really cost? So let's analyze this a little bit. This gem costed me 500k. So if I have a gem that costs me, that gives me close to 80% crit hit damage, I'm going to need the next level gem, which is going to be 1.5 mil. Now that's a lot of money, and if you think about it, I bought this bow for 2 mil altogether, so I got a pretty good deal for this bow, and 2 mil is going to give you equivalent stats of a 1.5 mil gem. So that basically means I bought this bow without the crit hit damage, and if it had a socket, I basically bought this for what, 500k. So these are the kinds of trade-offs that you kind of want to be thinking in your head. If I cannot afford a 90% crit hit damage gem, which costs 5 mil gold, then why don't I just get 90% right off the bat as a base stat? It's going to, first of all, decrease the price of your bow because it doesn't have a socket. Many people think that, oh, sockets are the best because I can put in the best gem, but can you really afford the best gem? Well, not always, right? Especially if you're on a tight budget. And this isn't necessarily a bow that's like an endgame bow. We are going to replace this bow once we get like 30 mil or 40 mil with a really nice 1300 bow. So that's exactly why you want to consider this approach as a temporary solution. It will never be a permanent solution, this one nor this one, just because their DPS is too low. And that's pretty much it. So for this bow, what I searched for was VIT and crit hit damage over 65%. And that's pretty much it. That's how I found this bow. Let's just take a look at its stats. We get from 41k to 47.5k. So we got 6.5k DPS for 2 mil gold, and that's a pretty good deal. And on top of that, we gain 3k HP as well as 130 armor. So not only did we increase our DPS significantly, we also increased our defensive stats significantly. So I would argue that if you want to upgrade 190 worth of VIT on all your gear, you're going to pay a lot of money. So as opposed to paying a lot of money on upgrading every single gear, what you can do is just shove all of those upgrades onto the bow. And that's kind of the strategy that we're using here. So hopefully you guys can take advantage of it. Just to show you, my main bow has 111 strength and 210 VIT. So that gives you an insane amount of HP. Let's put that in here, and it gives us 36.7k HP. So a very significant improvement, but of course this bow costs a lot, so I'm not even going to look at this bow. But these bows are, oh, not this one, but these two bows I would argue are very cost efficient for their price. So one last final word: be careful when you're looking for bows. Be careful with decks, because decks very much overprices bows. And the lesson we learned from this bow is be careful about sockets, because sockets can sometimes overprice bows as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit and hopefully gained some value out of this video. And just as a reminder, I'm going to be giving out these two bows to 2 subscribers that post in the comment section. So I'm not going to pick them out, I'll just randomize it. So if you get a PM in your inbox, that's probably going to be from me, and I'll give you guys my battle tag to add me to get your free bow. So hopefully you guys you enjoyed the info in this video, and I guess see you guys next time.